Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
The second Prince's voice hit the courtroom speakers, everything changed. Diddy froze. His armor of calm shattered. The man who built an empire with swagger and silence suddenly looked haunted, because this wasn't just audio. This was a voice from the grave. A voice carrying secrets that were never meant to surface. And when the final note faded, you could feel it. The entire room holding its breath. What did Prince say that made one of music's most untouchable titans visibly crack? No one was ready for what day 3 of this bombshell trial delivered. A buried truth just got dug up, and it's already sending aftershocks across Hollywood.
Yes, he said he would get physical. The one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
First Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the...
Day 3 wasn't supposed to be different. The usual chaos. Reporters rushing, celebs sneaking in, lawyers shuffling papers like chess masters. But the energy this time, undeniably different. You could feel it. This wasn't just a full courtroom. It was on edge. Security doubled. Not standard protocol. And 4 guards placed directly behind Diddy. That raised eyebrows. One insider whispered that special instructions were issued that morning, but no one explained why. Diddy strolled in, cool as ever, tailored navy suit, confident nods, that $1 million smile. He looked untouchable. His lawyers flanked him like a royal guard, whispering strategy, tightening ranks. He looked like a man in control, but what he didn't see was the quiet chaos building across the aisle. At the prosecution's table, new faces, 2 tech specialists hooking up equipment no one saw before, testing cables, whispers, the lead prosecutor glancing at Diddy with ice in her stare. Something was coming, and only the prosecution knew how devastating it would be. A journalist later told me, "We were texting from across the room like, what are they about to unleash?" The whole room buzzed with it. Then the judge walked in. Business as usual. Until it wasn't. He paused. "I remind everyone," he said, "regardless of the evidence presented today, I expect full composure." Then, he scanned the gallery. Slow. Stern. Any disruption will result in immediate removal. That's when we knew. This wasn't a normal day. The prosecution began calmly, connecting previous testimony, laying groundwork. Almost too calmly. Then, mid-sentence, the prosecutor stopped. "Your Honor," she said, "we'd like to present recently authenticated audio evidence." She stepped forward, holding a small black device. The defense exploded. Claims of no prior notice, wild objections, desperation. The judge listened, then ruled, "This evidence is admissible. Proceed." The energy snapped. The prosecutor turned to the court. Her words, unforgettable. "What you are about to hear is the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson before his death." The room froze. No typing, no shifting, just the sound of jaws hitting the floor. Prince, the icon, speaking from beyond the grave. Diddy's lead attorney grabbed his arm. His face, drained, like the blood vanished. His legal team huddled, whispers, panic, because they knew this was bad. And judging by Diddy's eyes, he knew it too.
Trying to listen. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing that seems to be like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to like not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well. So I'm just trying to think, like, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, you know, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had.
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing drugs. He worked out, so, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so.
What you're about to hear was never meant for the world. It came straight from Prince's private vault. And when the prosecutor announced it, the courtroom didn't just react, it detonated. Gasps, whispers, phones lighting up everywhere. Because this wasn't just evidence. This was a dead man's warning. The prosecutor stepped forward, her voice firm. This recording was made weeks before Prince died in 2016. He made it as insurance to protect the truth. And then, his voice played. The moment Prince's voice echoed through the speakers, a woman in the third row broke down. She covered her mouth, shaking. It wasn't just shock. It was the tone. Not stage Prince, not the icon, but a man who sounded scared and alone. I'm making this recording because I don't know who to trust anymore. His voice was clear. Each breath, deliberate. Each pause, chilling. Then, he dropped the bomb. Names, dates, locations, and at the center of it all, Diddy. Prince described parties. Diddy's homes in the Hamptons, in Miami, exactly where 3 previous witnesses said the same. But this wasn't hearsay. This was proof. Diddy's face cracked. The moment the audio hit, his eyes locked forward. No blinking. No blinking. Frozen. His lawyer whispered something. Diddy didn't flinch. Prince's voice grew sharper, faster. What happens at those parties isn't just wrong. It's criminal. He talked about who got hurt, who got used, who turned a blind eye. Every word hit like a punch. Because this wasn't a rumor, it was testimony. From someone who couldn't be silenced anymore. You can't cross-examine the dead. You can't bully their truth. Then, another twist. December 2015. A party. Prince named celebs who swore they were never there. But they were. He described private rooms, what happened behind locked doors, and it matched the prosecution's opening statements. Line for line, the room? Still, even the judge leaned in. A court reporter told me, it felt like time stopped. Then came the line that shook everyone. I begged him to stop. He laughed, told me to mind my business. If I wanted to stay in this industry, the prosecutor paused the tape. Right there, strategic, crushing, perfect. All eyes turned to Diddy. His hands were shaking, face drained of color. His lawyer slid a yellow legal pad in front of him, desperate to block the jury's view. But it was too late. Everyone had seen it. The moment Prince said his name, Diddy's empire began to crumble.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. It's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But Even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a fourth day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs' desires. "I'm always ready to freak off," one message said.
She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009. "I'm always ready to freak off." There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage, and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
What happened in that courtroom wasn't just shocking. It was a public meltdown. And it wasn't from a random defendant. It was Diddy, the king of calm, the master of control. For 2 days straight, he sat ice cold, stone-faced when accusers pointed fingers, unbothered when incriminating photos flashed on screens. He whispered calmly to his lawyers. Not once did he crack. Not once. Until Prince's voice played. That's when everything changed. After a pause that felt like a setup, the tape resumed. And the moment it did, Diddy unraveled. His star attorney, the one who's rescued countless celebrities, reached over. Gentle hand on the forearm. A classic move. Stay composed, but Diddy violently pulled away. The motion knocked over a water glass. It spilled across the defense table. People in the room gasped. Jurors exchanged quick, knowing glances. This wasn't just a slip-up. This was a collapse. A courtroom sketch artist later told reporters she'd never seen a transformation that sudden, that raw. Diddy's breathing turned erratic. His shoulders lifted and dropped like waves. Even those in the back could see he was losing grip. His eyes flicked around, scanning the walls like he wanted to run. The judge never broke focus. An old pro, he saw it coming. Diddy loosened his tie. His fingers trembled. He leaned in and whispered something urgent. 3 attorneys rushed in, like firefighters. Meanwhile, Prince's voice exposed more. He described a Beverly Hills gathering, gave a date, March 9th, 2016. Then came the address. The same one prosecutors had already verified. Then, boom! Diddy stood up, not slowly, not cautiously. He launched from his chair like a puppet on strings. 4 security officers moved instantly. His legal team panicked, grabbing, pulling, whispering. One lawyer nearly stepped between Diddy and the jury. Another tried to shield his client with a folder. But Prince kept speaking, describing what he saw that night. What prosecutors say was criminal. Diddy's defense collapsed around him. But then came the moment that changed the trial. He exploded. That's a lie! His voice thundered. The courtroom shook. A journalist in the front row visibly flinched. He wasn't there. That never happened. The judge slammed his gavel. Mr. Combs, control yourself or be held in contempt. Everyone froze, except for Prince's voice. Still playing. It was clear. The prosecutors waited, held back this bombshell, let Diddy grow comfortable, then dropped the one thing that tore down his image in seconds. And it worked.
The other things that Diddy's team tried to do was show how they had breaks, and she was with Michael B. Jordan and was with Kid Cudi for a minute. But during that time period, she was still having freak-offs with Diddy, and I think that was them trying to show, this wasn't a controlling thing. Here she was, hooking up with other people. She just was into the freak-offs.
I kind of buy that, to be honest.
So...
she is out of the freak-off scene. She is... when she's with Kid Cudi, or allegedly with Michael B. Jordan, she's kind of out of the freak-offs if she wants to be. So why do you keep going back? Yeah. I know it's kind of like a mental, she still loves Diddy. Diddy was jealous about her.
Oh, yeah, because that was another thing that the prosecutors were trying to do, is show that, that they had a very jealous relationship. She would get jealous when he's with Kid Cudi. Also, Kim Porter, Cassie would be jealous of Kim Porter.
Right.
Trying to show that, Cassie, you were in love with this guy. That's why you were jealous.
Right.
So, like, this was a real
It
relationship.
was just interesting to see Chris Brown.
I mean, he's always coming up somewhere, dude.
He is.
Chris Brown.
All right. Final story of the week. Final story of the week. Justin Bieber is not a victim of Diddy. So this was one of those, like, rumors or whatever that was flying around in the months leading up to the trial. And to be honest, there was quite a few rumors flying around. Like, you know, was there minors involved? Says, if no other celebrity was part of Freak-Offs, why are they in hiding? Are they in hiding, though?
I don't think they're in hiding. I just think other celebrities didn't want to insert themselves. No one wants to be tied to Diddy one way or the other.
Even if you're at a white party, like just having a lot of fun, one of Diddy's white parties, you don't want to be linked in any way.
No, and that's why, like, all those people, there's a few people I think that have come forward and been like, I didn't see any of this freak-off stuff.
After the courtroom chaos, silence took over like a storm about to hit. Then, the audio resumed. And what it exposed left every soul in that room shaken. Prince didn't just throw around accusations. He came armed with proof. 3 precise revelations, and each one cut deeper than the last. He revealed he'd been quietly collecting evidence for years. "I keep everything," Prince declared. Names, dates, what happened, where, who was there. Since 2007, legal experts glanced at each other in stunned disbelief. This wasn't gossip. This was a blueprint of corruption, laid out by one of music's most meticulous insiders. The first bombshell, Prince described so-called industry parties at Diddy's properties. But he made one thing clear. "These aren't just parties," he said. "They're staged operations." He claimed Diddy would isolate young talent, cut them off from their teams, and trap them in situations where no wasn't an option. Then he dropped the address of a Beverly Hills mansion and described a room layout that perfectly matched court-verified floor plans. The courtroom froze. Everyone leaned in. Prince's tone shifted. Dark, urgent. "These kids think they're finally making it," he said. "But by the time they understand the cost, they're already trapped." He claimed he saw it happen 7 times, firsthand. Then came the second blow, a direct confrontation. At a Grammy after-party in 2016, "I approached Diddy," Prince said. "I told him I knew what he was doing, and it had to stop." Diddy's response? He laughed, then looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You might be Prince, but you're not untouchable." Prince took it as a threat, and so did everyone in that room. Diddy's lawyers scrambled. They hadn't seen this coming, but it got worse. Prince dropped figures, 2 million, 1.3 million, and every number matched the prosecution's earlier exhibits. These weren't guesses, these were payoffs. Silence bought, stories buried. "I've seen the money," Prince said. "I've seen the NDAs. This wasn't chaotic fame, this was organized suppression." Then came the final gut punch. Prince's voice grew quieter, more fragile. "I'm scared," he admitted. "I can't say these things publicly, because the system protects people like him." And then, his last words, "If something happens to me, make sure this reaches the right people. This isn't just about me. It's about those who never had a voice." The recording ended, but the courtroom didn't move, because in that moment, Prince didn't just testify.
They have their notebooks in their hand. They're coming in. They're very alert. And I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura. And also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, 2 of the girls were seen crying. How emotional have they been in court?
Again, I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through. But I think that's something that you think about on both sides, you know, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, you know, their third child together now. So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother, and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides. Seen him taking notes from the beginning. I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swingers lifestyle, but at the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was the significance there?
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. The defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that. They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So, yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and the defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be on that stand 2 to 3 days. So
The courtroom, once tense but controlled, suddenly spiraled into chaos. Diddy, usually the calm, unshakable mogul, lost it in a way no one saw coming. It started right after Prince's recording finished playing. That haunting voice had filled. The room then vanished. And suddenly, Diddy snapped, his face twisted. Anger, panic, desperation, all crashing at once. His top lawyer sprang up, voice trembling like a leaf in a storm. Your Honor, we request a 15-minute recess to consult with our client. But the judge? He wasn't buying it. No, the court will proceed with evidence. His glare sliced through the tension like a knife, locking directly on Diddy. I expect no further disruptions. This was a shockwave no one in that room was prepared for. These lawyers, they weren't rookies. They charge them $800 an hour. They get what they want. But today, nothing was going their way. Across the room, the prosecution barely hid their satisfaction. The lead prosecutor stayed stone-faced, but the assistant let out a small, knowing smile. A look passed between them, silent but loaded. This was their plan. They baited the trap. And now they had the perfect catch. On official court record. Behind me, a legal analyst leaned in, whispering to his colleague, "This is a disaster for the defense. They spent 2 days painting Diddy as calm, collected, innocent. Now, that image lies in ruins." The judge then addressed the jury, trying to contain the fallout. "You must disregard the emotional outburst. It's not evidence. But we all know jurors don't forget." 3 of them stared daggers at Diddy, watching his every twitch after the meltdown. Court security didn't take chances. 2 officers flanked the defense table, one standing inches behind Diddy, ready to intervene at a moment's notice. And Diddy? He was visibly unraveling. The prosecution pressed their advantage mercilessly. They presented evidence that matched. Prince's chilling recording, financial records with every suspicious payment detailed, witnesses' texts confirming dates, places, conversations, every piece fitting perfectly like a puzzle. Diddy sat, beads of sweat rolling down his face, his signature confidence replaced by panic. His hands trembled so hard, his lawyer passed him a legal pad. Something to hold on to, anything. He even refused water when offered. By mid-afternoon, his face looked pale and defeated. He was cornered, exposed. But the final blow came moments before court adjourned. His legal team threw up a desperate last-minute motion to exclude Prince's recording. They claimed it was manipulated. Impossible to verify since the witness was deceased. But the courtroom saw through the stunt immediately. Experts whispered this was a desperate attempt to rewrite reality. Emergency motions like this. Their assigned attorneys have run out of options. It's the legal equivalent of throwing a Hail Mary. As the crowd left the courtroom, the buzz was electric. A top TV legal analyst told his producer, "This is the moment people will remember, the moment Diddy lost control and the case fell apart." A veteran court reporter nodded. "I've covered hundreds of celebrity trials. Never have I seen such a complete collapse in one moment. But here's the secret no one told you. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't luck. It was a meticulously planned masterstroke. Court insiders revealed the prosecution had this bombshell ready from the start, but held it back. Why? To lull Diddy into a false sense of security. They spent 2 days appearing routine, almost boring. They wanted him relaxed, thinking he was winning. A source close to the prosecution said, they knew Diddy's pattern. He's cool and collected for the first 48 hours. Then cracks. They timed it perfectly. Day 3 was their moment. The prosecution's strategy was surgical. They built the case like architects. Solid foundation first. Witnesses to verify basic facts. Then financial records. Then the texts. When Prince's voice played, it wasn't just sound. It was devastation. Every detail he shared connected seamlessly with evidence the jury had already seen and accepted. But it gets even more chilling. The prosecution rehearsed this moment like it was a Broadway show. Court employees said they practiced how to play the recording, exactly when to pause, how to look at Diddy, and most importantly, how to hold their expressions when he inevitably reacted. They were ready. Prince's voice became the ultimate witness. Untouchable, unshakable, beyond cross-examination. Dead, yet more powerful than any living person in that courtroom. The recording was vetted by 3 separate audio forensic experts. Not a single edit. No manipulation. This was ironclad. And the timing, it couldn't have been more calculated. Day 3, when media interest usually wanes, exploded again. Cable news renewed their frenzy. Social media went wild, memes, fan reactions, chaos. The prosecution wasn't just trying to convince the jury, they were controlling the entire narrative, making sure this case dominated headlines again. As the courtroom emptied, the difference between the two sides was crystal clear. The prosecution collected their files calmly, sharing knowing glances. Diddy's team huddled in panic, urgent phone calls, flipping through legal texts like their lives. Depended on it. The balance of power flipped in minutes. One moment, Diddy was a titan, fighting for his legacy. The next, a man watching everything crumble beneath him. His carefully crafted image shattered by a voice from beyond the grave. As the 3rd day ended, something irreversible had happened. Prince's testimony had cracked open the facade Diddy hid behind. The trial will resume tomorrow, but nothing will be the same. The ghost of a music legend had just delivered the most powerful testimony possible, catching Diddy completely off guard. And the industry? They're not just losing sleep over Diddy's fate, they're terrified of what else Prince might have left behind. What other names did he whisper? What other recordings are locked away in secret vaults, waiting to explode? The real question now is, who else will fall when those secrets come out? And more importantly, can anyone survive what's coming next?